All right, today we're going to break down a really simple but honestly incredibly powerful rule that can totally change your academic writing. It's called the rule of three, and I promise once you get it, you're going to start seeing it absolutely everywhere. So let's just dive right in.
So, have you ever stopped to wonder why so many things in stories and life just come in threes? You know, the Three Musketeers, the Three Little Pigs, or even winning gold, silver, and bronze. This is definitely not an accident. There's actually a deep psychological reason our brains are just wired to love the number three, and figuring that out is the key to becoming a way more effective communicator.
Okay, let's start with the number one. In our heads, a single instance of something, well, it's not all that meaningful.
It's really just an event, a single thing happens. It's like one dot on a page. It doesn't really establish anything by itself. Now, what about two? When something happens twice, our brain definitely starts to pay attention, but it's not totally convinced just yet.
Two things happening could easily just be a coincidence. Yeah, sure, you can draw a straight line between two dots, but that doesn't really prove a bigger truth or a deliberate direction. It's interesting, for sure, but our brain doesn't quite see a pattern. Not yet. And that, of course, brings us to the magic number, 3. This is where everything just clicks into place. Yeah, with 3 instances, our brain gets it. It's no longer just an event or some random coincidence. It is officially a pattern. 3 is the smallest number our minds need to see something as deliberate, as credible, and as an intentional rule. It confirms the idea and makes it feel, well, complete. People often call it the Goldilocks number, and it makes perfect sense, right? 3 isn't too little, and it's not too much. It gives you just enough information to be persuasive without totally overwhelming your audience. It creates this perfect balance of clarity and makes things easier to remember. So the big question is, how do we actually use this in our academic work? Let's get practical. Our first application is all about building the backbone of any good university essay, the thesis statement. Okay, just look at this comparison here. The weak statement, exercise is good for you, is fine, it's a claim, but it doesn't tell your reader how you're going to prove it. Now look at the strong one. It uses the rule of 3 to give you a crystal clear roadmap for the entire paper. It turns a simple claim into a really structured argument. And just like that, each of those 3 points, boosting health, improving clarity, and increasing efficiency, becomes the main idea for your 3 body paragraphs. That's the power of this rule. You've essentially outlined your whole essay in one sentence, giving both you and your professor a clear path to follow. Okay, next up, how to build an argument that's actually credible. The rule of 3 is also your secret weapon for making your claims feel less like your opinion and more like an established fact. We can call this the evidence trifecta. I absolutely love this metaphor. Think about it. In an essay, using just one source is like having one witness testify. It's a decent start, but it's not definitive, right? But citing 3 different sources that all point to the same conclusion, well, now your argument feels like a closed case. It creates a consensus. Let's see how this works in practice. Imagine you're arguing that the city is growing. Citing just one source, like in the weak example, is just an isolated piece of info. But look at the strong example. By backing up your claim with 3 different kinds of evidence, population data, spending reports, and policy changes, you're not just making your argument stronger, you're showing your professor that you've done some seriously comprehensive research. All right, for our final application, let's switch gears from structure to style. This is all about making your writing not just clear, but really powerful and memorable, especially in your conclusions. We're going to talk about a rhetorical device called the tricolon. Now, a tricolon sounds super fancy, I know, but it's really just a series of 3 parallel items. They could be words, phrases, or clauses. The structure itself creates this really satisfying rhythm that makes a sentence feel complete and authoritative. I mean, this is a technique the best speakers and writers have been using for centuries to make their ideas stick. Just listen to the difference here. The before is okay, but it's a little flat, right? The after, using a tricolon, creates this powerful buildup. It feels final, it feels persuasive, and it's way more likely to stick in your reader's head. It is the perfect way to end a paper or a speech with some real punch. Okay, so to wrap all this up, let's put it into a simple checklist that you can use for pretty much any assignment. Think of it as your personal cheat sheet for applying the rule of 3. Let's just run through it one last time. When your goal is persuasion, use 3 supporting reasons in your thesis to create that roadmap. For credibility, you want 3 different sources to show a clear pattern of truth. And for style, to make a real impact, use a tricolon of 3 parallel phrases to make your argument memorable. See? Structure, support, and style, all powered by the number 3. And that pretty much covers it. The rule of 3 isn't just some clever writing trick, it's a fundamental principle of how our brains process logic and information. Now that you can see it, think about your next essay, or your next presentation, or even just how you take notes in class. So where will you use the rule of 3 first?